All right, if you're into high school sports, we're going to start ourselves a little bit of a new tradition here. This is the Prep Zone. I'm Nick Ashew, Jack Feely, Marissa Pilla. These are really the experts. I'm just going to kind of be here as almost like the guy that stands aside and lets them do their work.
You're being kind already.
All kinds of stuff going on
is
here.
great.
You guys spend a lot of time covering high school sports around the area. You've been able to see all the players that are coming up, guys getting recruited, guys, early on, some of the real powerhouses, and really in an area where there's a lot of talent between the DMV. Hey, this is what it's all about, right?
Yes,
DMV
Stream.
DMV
right
Stream. In case you're wondering, this is what we're doing. We're going to get all kinds of interviews here. We'll talk to Josh Apple a little bit later, who's been following Miles Ross. You guys have been covering a lot of these games. We got some great highlights from games we saw, plus some previews of games coming up as well this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm
actually
really
looking forward to it.
There's so much, as you said, there's so much talent in this area. So every Friday, every Saturday, there's great opportunity to see a great game being played. So I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's not just highlighted. Excuse me. It's not just focused in on basketball. There's a lot of tons of football talent in this area. And every fall, you get anxious. As a fan, for me, you get anxious every time fall comes around, and even winter too.
It's funny. You can just tell that you guys, especially, see so much of this. There is this anxiousness with you. It's just the high school talent. But it's funny. It doesn't sometimes get enough attention, I think, in what is in this area, and that's what sort of the whole idea of the Prep Zone is. People that maybe want more of it. You want to get your fix. This is it.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
That's our job.
We're here to give the people what they want.
So we're going to be spending some time, like I said, going over some of the different games that happened this past week. We'll have interviews. Just can't imagine what else you could possibly ask for besides this. So.
Plenty of highlights. We already cover, with DMV Stream, we already cover so many sporting events live. It's just really nice to actually do it in a high school sports recap show. Sometimes you see some of the major networks doing it, but I think here is really great. And we see some of the things that we're going to be covering today.
So we mentioned Josh Apple going to be he talked to Miles Ross, who's actually with Hayfield, senior year. Guy's broken a bunch of records now. Get some information on him. Plus, DeMatha, McNamara will go over that. Some of the other games that happened this past week, South Lakes, Herndon, plenty. Plus, we'll preview Chantilly, Oakland, DeMatha, Gonzaga. That's a big one. That's the one we'll definitely get into as well. Stonebridge, Broad Run. Everything you could ask for, high school sports in the area. We're going to get into that coming up on the show.
Absolutely.
Show.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right, did have a chance to talk to BJ Kubarulis, who, in case you don't know, is sort of the creator of all of this. So he'll give you, sort of the inside of what his idea is with this whole creation he has. All right, joined by BJ Kubarulis here, and it's a pretty simple question. For people that don't know, what is DMVSTREAM.com?
DMVSTREAM.com, the concept behind this project when we started this a few years ago was to be the primary source for streaming high school, college, some pros, athletics in the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And
I see where you got that.
Yeah,
there you
right?
go. That makes sense.
Pretty
right?
novel concept. And we originally, when we started it out, bumps and bruises along the way, but we've gotten into a place now where we're in a rhythm. As a contractor and also as just an overall project, through our parent company, Synthesis Multimedia, we're hitting upwards of 175 events a year now, sporting events and others. So, we're really excited about the new studio that we're in today here for the Prep Zone, which of course you're hosting, and that is just another step forward in the high school sports arena. It's going to be a show with highlights, graphics, replays from the week, fast forward, previews, analysts, coaches, all kinds of stuff, all related to high school sports in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area.
All right, thanks, BJ.
Thanks.
All right, this is the Prep Zone, DMVSTREAM.com. Let's get into some of the games that we had this past week. Jack, you were at the DeMatha McNamara game. Now, a lot of people expected this to be more of a blowout. It certainly wasn't. What did you see in that game that really stood out the most?
I saw a really competitive game from two football teams that were just hungry for the W. And this was a lot of people, DeMatha coming in at 5-0 in the game. We take a look at some of the highlights. Right off the bat, Lorenzo Harrison starts it off, the Maryland recruit, with an 85-yard touchdown run. That put DeMatha up 7-0. You could just see the speed that he showcases right there on the edge. This was his second touchdown, which was a 57-yard run. You could see how well he broke through the so easy. Breaks right through the tackles. And then a third touchdown, this one from 20 yards out. You can see he starts left, dips right. But McNamara made it a game, which is why I think this was probably the #1 game of the weekend. This is Brian Thompson catching I believe that was the 80-yard pass from Ramar Williams. Ramar Williams had 6 touchdowns on the afternoon, and this is another one that he had, that one previously again to Brian Thompson. Then he mixes it up. He finds Charles Kelly this time in the back of the end zone. He had 6 touchdowns on the afternoon for 349 yards. I mean, that's
an incredible stat line when you think about it.
All right, that's the 5th game he's thrown for more than 220 yards.
Oh my gosh.
So he ran for, I believe, 3 and also threw for 3. And it baffles me how this kid is not getting any more offers. He's sort of a mid-level talent right now.
What kind of offers has he had so
well,
far?
mid-major programs. Maryland, I think, is, they're settled on Dwayne Haskins out of the Bullis School in Potomac, Maryland. He's going to be a very good recruit. But I think more mid-major programs, maybe the JMUs, the high, Division I AA type of schools also as well. Howard, I know, is kind of giving a glance. I mean, but the one thing I think coaches are a little bit why they're sort of not offering so many offers. So as of yet, he does throw a lot of interceptions. He had 3 interceptions in the game.
Well, I think 6 touchdowns maybe helps a little bit if you're trying to get some
Helps
attention
really even
for
out
sure.
that stat.
He was plus or minus, give or take a few. But I mean, it was just a terrific game. And the one thing also it showed me, DeMatha has a lot of holes in its defense. If they're going to be carved up, all you need that tells me right there that all you need is a solid quarterback who knows how to make his reads and slice up a defense like that. And here we were talking about they were coming in number 1 team possibly in the country with no flaws whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Marissa, now you covered a Duvall at Wise.
Yes.
What did you see that stood out the
Well,
most
that
for
game
you
was
there?
originally supposed to take place on the 9th, but because of the rain, we all remember that awful rain that we experienced on Friday. The game was delayed and was actually rescheduled for the 12th. Now, when the game paused and the game was suspended, it was 0-0 in the second quarter. But the first play from scrimmage from Duvall resulted in a 66-yard touchdown pass from All-Met quarterback Anton Brooks. But that's kind of where their good luck ended, because a couple plays later, Brooks rolled out towards the sideline, was tackled, and suffered a compound fracture in his ankle. It was a really devastating injury. His whole team was very emotionally and physically upset about it, and they definitely missed his presence on the field, because after that, Wise went on to score 6 times in the second half and defeated Duvall 42-7. Now, my player of the game was Wise's junior wide receiver Anthony Litton Jr., who had 3 touchdowns on the night and had 144 yards on 6 receptions. So, great win for Wise, but just devastating news for Duvall, because just you hear that people were just emotionally upset on the sidelines. Teammates were in tears, and when you see a kid as talented and as diverse and versatile as him go down in such a gruesome injury, you never want to see that.
And that's a hard thing too, like you talk about when it's kids. I think really anybody, because we've seen that in all levels of sports before, where you see these graphic injuries sometimes, and it's a really tough situation. But when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, and it's probably the first time you've seen something like that, and you don't want to see it at all in the football field or any sport, but that can really have an effect on athletes and in just kids in general, especially when it comes to that.
And the shock factor once you go through an injury like that, and his dad ran down onto the field as soon as something like that happened, because I think the moment it happened, even the coach said he just came down on it wrong. And it was just a really gruesome injury, and we've all seen these compound fractures maybe in the NBA, and it's nothing you really want to watch on repeat.
No, it never is.
I don't care who you are. I don't care how old you are. And as a competitor, you never want to see someone injure themselves, because you want that. You want to measure yourself against the best. You want the best to play against the best. And Antoine Brooks, we saw there in the highlights. I mean, he had a 66-yard touchdown, as you mentioned, and then he also had an interception. And once he went down, I mean, as you said, Marissa, they just weren't able to come back. It really is a shame, but a great performance by Wise.
He's the heart and soul of that team, so it's really hard to bounce back, especially if something that graphic happens.
Do they know how long it's going to take in terms of recovery?
There's no terms yet, but I'm assuming compound fracture, you really need to set that. It's a lot that goes into things like that, so I hope he gets back on the field soon, and I wish him a speedy recovery, as we all do.
Sure.
Hopefully he'll be out there.
Yeah, speedy recovery. But I hate to say it, if it's a compound fracture, I'm no doctor, I'm far from one. And I think it's safe to say we won't be seeing him again this year.
That's why you're sitting here, Jack. Herndon, South Lakes. The first game, obviously, we had a close game. This one, not so much.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, South Lakes came into this game 4-1. Herndon coming in at 2-3. I was expecting sort of a tough game, but South Lakes just blew it open. this is the first play where Anas Fain catches 65-yard touchdown pass to really set the tempo for South Lakes, and then Herndon turns it over. This is Fain catching that for his second touchdown of the game, so he had an offensive touchdown and a defensive touchdown. This was my player of the game, Eric Kierlew, a senior wideout. You can just see his versatility.
Fun name to say, too.
Oh, Eric Kierlew, or Curlew. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I hope his parents don't call me. But I mean, and then you kind of see his versatility as well. He's just got such speed, runs a 4.5 40, and you can see how quickly he gets out on the edge. Herndon just wasn't able to get itself together. You can see its shiftiness as well. I mean, he practically runs 40 yards across the field to avoid getting tackled. And then I think this is the Albert Mensah with a 20-yard run as well. This is the only real.
Oh, that's a beauty right there.
That's a beauty right there. Beautiful post route. From, I believe that was Keyshawn Hamlin from Adam Kuchik. So 50-13, not the greatest of not the greatest of performances. And again, Eric Kierlew, wideout senior, 90 total yards. Not as many yards, but he sure made them count because you can see the highlights just how versatile.
In the end,
he is.
coaches care about the touchdowns more than anything, and he had
Exactly.
2 touchdowns,
Two
which kind of makes them a little bit happy in their end,
2 TDs, that's all the coaches care about, and that's why they're able to race out. They're 5-1 now, and they've got big games coming up against some of their county rivals.
All right. Good thing about DMV Stream is we're able to cover all kinds of sports. That's sort of the idea of this, and one of the things is lacrosse, which is great. I don't know if you knew that. In the DMV, we cover lots of high school sports here. That's kind of how it goes. Here's the crew in action.
Okay, guys, so that's clear to watch number 1. We need number 3, Blue. Kelsey for another 20 or so. Ready? Yep. Roll it. Ready, come back out to 2. Third player to watch for the blue team today, it's number 5, Tyler Duff.
All right, we're back here on the Prep Zone. Nick Ashew, Jack Feely, Marissa Pilla. One of the other games that we were able to cover this past week, Bishop Ireton, Flint Hill. This was a close one.
It was.
This was an exciting game. So
It
that was one of those ones. It's a whole lot better watching the games that aren't, a 42-7 blowout.
It didn't
Big
start
difference.
off very close though. Flint Hill was leading Bishop Ireton 20-3 heading into halftime, but second half, Bishop Ireton started firing on all cylinders, mostly in part to junior running back Parrish Jones. He cut the deficit to 10 with an 18-yard touchdown run in the third. Flint Hill then responded with a 34-yard field goal, but then Jones came back with a 36-yard touchdown pass. He threw a touchdown after running for 1 and then cut the lead down by 6. Now, they came up big on defense late in the fourth quarter. Bishop Ireton got an interception on Flint Hill's 44-yard line, so that really just set them up for this last-minute win. It was a Jones reception from Chandler Wilder and David Cooper's extra point.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jones has got an arm.
Yeah, pretty much sealed the deal for Bishop Ireton Cardinals, 24-23 over Flint Hill. Now, Parrish Jones finished with 20 carries, 120 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, 3 receptions for 51 yards, a receiving touchdown. Oh, and get this, he led the team with 184 total yards. So, a little bit of an underachiever.
And he filled the Gatorade coolers and also took all the pads off the field for the entire team.
Gatorade that he made with his secret recipe.
Did they have orange slices at halftime? Did he bring those too?
And he had
I
little
miss
bags
those.
of chips.
So do I.
You know what? Can I just leave and
I
go
know.
get some?
Well, actually, we're going to be getting some of those. I brought some in, so we'll have some of those after
You're
the show.
our Parrish
which is good.
Jones for the
Yes.
week.
Well, I figured I'd contribute.
Parrish Jones, my lord! But those stats though,
Those
that's
stats
incredible.
Everywhere. So just such a versatile player.
You said
I mean,
a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown.
and a receiving touchdown as well.
Oh yeah, I
so-
did see he did have a nice.
Yes.
He caught it was a nice slant route actually, and he did a nice job. The safety was
He
coming
gets
up
bored
to
doing
really
one
blitz.
thing.
Yeah.
So he's like,
exactly.
you know what? Let's just go ahead and do everything that I
And
could
Bishop
possibly
Ireton
do.
is like more than
Yeah.
welcome to let him have it.
So a nice little win for them, a pretty close win.
For sure.
Eleanor, Roosevelt, and Bowie. Jack, you covered that.
Yeah, this was an interesting game. Public school powers out in Prince George's County. Bowie having one of their best seasons in recent memory. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2003. They came in 5-0. Eleanor Roosevelt was the one that really got it started. How's this for a name? This is senior running back Confidence Okoro Ojuzi with the
You know what? You got a high
57-yard
five
run.
just for being able to say that.
Right
Good
there.
job.
I
guess you
practiced
have
it
to be
about 5
confident.
different times. And then this is Carl Mofor with the 5-yard run, and he had himself a day as well. 32 carries for 121 yards. He had 2 touchdowns on the afternoon. And I'll tell you what, Bowie didn't help themselves at all because they turned the ball over too many times. That was the first turnover, stripped from the wide receiver. And then again, Eleanor Roosevelt, the Raiders doing a nice job pouncing on any opportunities. And they really showcased their speed as well, bouncing out to the outside. This is Mofor, I believe, who gets dragged down, and he also got a face mask call. But Jason Epps, if I had to pick a player of the game for the losing squad, Jason Epps had 4 touchdowns in the afternoon, three running, and then 1 passing. That pass right there was to Marvin Ransom for the 7-yard touchdown, but it was Eleanor Roosevelt that came away with it, and they advanced to 5-1 now. So 2 teams, 5-1. But I really think that despite the win by the Raiders, that Bowie is going to have themselves a good year. If we see here, Carl Mofor, senior running back, has some interest from local colleges in and around the area. Purdue, Howard, Maryland has given him a look as well. 121 yards, 3 TDs, 679 rushing yards.
Wow.
Just a powerful running back. Doesn't go down. He's definitely one of those in-between type of running back, in between the tackles, who can definitely take a hit.
Is there any word on sort of like maybe the school that he prefers the most, or maybe sort of a front runner at all right now, or is it still too early to
I think it's
tell?
still too early to tell.
Yeah.
I think right now he needs to continue. I think he needs to continue having the games that he's having, and continue to bounce outside and get touchdowns. And I think the more touchdowns and more yards he gets, the better. The more coaches that are going to call.
So you mean more numbers coaches tend to notice
Pretty much.
that in college? That's how that
Pretty
works.
much. You can't
Sometimes
sleepwalk
it's
through
a
it.
simple game.
You can't sleepwalk through it.
All right, Marissa. Sherwood, Northwood. Ooh, that was a one-sided game. Right?
Yeah, it wasn't so much
that's
that
a nice
quite
way
of
to say it.
I'm trying to be as
exciting
nice as
game.
possible.
Yeah, I get that. So Northwood got on the board first, actually. They had an interception return for 35 yards, but they didn't get the extra point. So they were up 6-0. But that was pretty much all the action they saw for the night. From then on out, Sherwood scored 8 times throughout the remainder of the game, including 5 times in the second quarter alone.
Wow.
So a lot of action in the second quarter.
That was a short highlight reel, but I'll tell you what, it was probably just continuing on Sherwood.
They continued on to be 2-0 in conference play and 5-1 on the season. This is Marcus Sims. He is a very highly recruited player going to West Virginia. He had quite the game: 4 receptions, 126 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's
so,
efficiency.
That
really
is pretty
efficient.
good. That's pretty good. So that's kind of how you get a blowout like that. You have a guy like Marcus Sims on your team.
What is it with West Virginia coming into the DMV area and stealing all the good wide receivers?
Well,
we have
they're
Tavon
smart
Austin
enough
out
to
of
know.
Boston.
They come
Yeah,
and
Tavon
swoop
the
in.
Austin.
Yeah.
They come in and swoop in. Tell you what, DMV colleges out there need to up their games a little bit.
It's a hotbed for that, I'll tell you what. This is the Prep Zone here on DMVSTREAM.COM. Let's check out some of the coverage that happens with Georgetown football.
It's not easy to do. Either roll to your right is right. Down 3, ready to out to 4. 1, and out to 4.
For men, Daniel Joe could go down with a right ankle injury. He kind of limped.
Flat, pulled down. It'll be 82 Joe Jordan. see at 500 as well. Yeah, absolutely. You got to be fundamentally sound when this defense gets out there. They just got to deal with it.
You're obviously a guy, a ball hawk back to.
It was a major point of emphasis for us. And also, we need to be a better third down situation.
Spread. And there's finally a handoff.
Calhoun's going to get the.
All right, joined by Josh Apple now, who's our recruiting insider. You recently spent time with Miles Ross, breaking some records. Now, he's sort of a late bloomer. When you talk to him, how does he sort of describe his career and where it's going now in high school towards the end at Hayfield?
Early in his career, he did a lot of work at receiver as well as at running back, but later in his career, now as a senior, he is very much the workhorse, the running back, and he gets over 20 carries per game. He's top 10 in the DC area in touchdowns and in rushing yards, and he's really established himself as one of the best running backs in the area.
Now, he just got sort of his first offer, correct? He's just had some interest from schools so far?
He did. Last time I spoke to him, he had interest from 5 different schools, but he just got his first offer on Saturday. The offer was from Rhode Island, which was one of those 5 schools. The other schools were Temple, JMU, Albany, and UConn. At that time, JMU was probably his favorite, followed by Temple and UConn. Rhode Island wasn't necessarily one of his favorites, but maybe it is now that they gave him an offer first.
So why is it that it's sort of, because I mean, you know, you see him breaking some records, you obviously first think, oh, well, why aren't there more offers with somebody like this? What's the reason why it's sort of taken a little bit longer for schools to show more interest in him?
Well, having just broken the Hayfield all-time rushing record, the record was only at 2,000 yards, which some people do in a season. He has a lot of all-purpose yards. Like I said early in his career, he did a lot of work as a receiver and a running back. So he's at 2,600 yards for his career now, but I mean, he could easily go for 2,000 yards this season alone. So he's really showing what he can do. He has 909 yards through 6 games this year, and he played receiver in one of the games this year. So that's almost 1,000 yards in just 5 games.
All right, Josh Apple right there. We'll see how the rest of his career goes. Back here on the PrepZone, DMVSTREAM.COM, Nick Ashew, Jack Feely, Marissa Pilla. Preview time. Yeah. This is the fun part. We
finally.
look into our crystal balls here, and we'll pretend this is our crystal ball right here.
Yes,
The moment will be our crystal ball.
exactly.
We'll figure it out. Oakton Chantilly, the first one up.
Yes, it's a conference showdown in Chantilly. So both teams are coming off of victories from last week. But given that information, I still have to take Chantilly in this one. They're 2-1 at home, and they're averaging about 16 points more than Oakton. So for me, I'm going Chantilly over Oakton, 27-14. So you can put that in your books. You can look
that
at
in
it.
the record
scoring
books.
too. You're a show off.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, I just want to be a little more precise than you guys. So here we go. And my player to watch is senior quarterback David Tomorrow. He is 71 for 120 attempts, over 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, and only 1 interception.
Talk about efficiency. I was about to say that.
That's
15
another
TDs and 1 interception.
Yes.
Wow, that's near perfect.
He's looking pretty good.
That's really good.
Your prediction? Come on.
Yeah, my prediction.
You got to do it.
You know, I have to stick with it. I'm going to go on the other end. I picked Oakton. I
Okay.
think Oakton's always been a challenging team. I think they're going to upset Chantilly.
All right, well, I'm going with Chantilly in this one.
There we go.
All right,
Basically,
2-1.
because she
It's
put
all
a
good.
score in, she seemed more confident
It's okay.
about it, right?
It's okay. It's all good.
All right, Broad Run, Stonebridge up next.
Broad Run, Stonebridge. This is an interesting game. Battle of the Burn, obviously. You know, Broad Run is 1-8 all time versus Stonebridge, but I think this is the year that Broad Run might be able to make something happen. Meech Hembry has really been leading Broad Run, the junior running back with over 972 yards, 11 total TDs. Reports we have been hearing reports that Joe Thompson, the quarterback for Stonebridge, who hurt his ankle in a horse collar tackle against Westfield, may be coming back later on. Definitely not this game on Friday, but later on in the season. So that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But I just think Broad Run is very even across the entire line, on the defensive line and the offensive line as well. And their quarterback has been doing a really nice job, Kyle Brickard. Obviously, my player to watch is Meech Hembry. 972 yards, 11 total TDs. I think this is the year. And fun fact, they're 1-8 all time. The only win that they got against Stonebridge was back in November of 2013, a 23-21 victory in the playoffs. So they need to make it count. I think this is going to be a fun game. If you're looking for, public or private, doesn't matter. This is a game to go to.
That was actually a really fun fact. Thank you.
I try to mix it in. She had a score. I had a fun fact.
Yes.
There you go. Last one up, Gonzaga and DeMatha.
This one, oh man, what can I say? Battle, the longest known rivals in the area. DeMatha coming in at 5-0, and we just saw some of the highlights from 6-0. Both teams coming in at 6-0. Definitely didn't expect that from Gonzaga, but I think this is where Gonzaga, I think they might lose this one. I think DeMatha's just too strong of a team coming in at 6-0. I think they'll go to 7-0. My prediction actually for the score is 38-20 because it will be out at DeMatha, and DeMatha will have home field advantage, but anywhere DeMatha goes, you can always expect a game. Bo English has been playing very well. Lorenzo Harrison, Tino Ellis, both Maryland commits. We'll see if that stays that way now that Maryland is with a temporary head coach. Lorenzo Harrison, obviously he's 3 TDs versus McNamara. The ranked number 25 player in Maryland, so he's going to be a great player. Should he stick to his commitment to Maryland, I think he's going to be a fun one to watch.
We'd like to see that.
Yeah, it's always interesting too. Like we talk about the Maryland situation.
And look at that! Turns out we all picked DeMatha.
Yeah, by the way, so
turns out we all picked DeMatha.
We're going on the same path with that one. It'll be interesting to see how things go with Maryland recruits now, with the coaching situation sort of changing up. So.
For sure, I think it's going to be. I think this is an opportunity for Coach Mike Loxley to really get himself away from that New Mexico record that he had.
All right, this is the Prep Zone, the debut episode of it, and we'll see you back here next week. We'll start this little tradition and keep it going.